How do you balance graft-versus-host disease and graft-versus-myeloma effect?
So with graft-versus-myeloma, that would be the immune cells you get from the donor attacking the myeloma and getting rid of it. That's good. The other part, though, is that the immune system is smart. It can recognize you from me, but it's not smart enough to recognize cancer from non-cancer. So the immune system, besides recognizing the myeloma, might recognize other things in you, other things in your body. So if the immune system attacks other organs besides the myeloma, you might get sick from that. So in the early phases of an allotransplant, you can get a skin rash, you can get damage to the gastrointestinal tract, or you get diarrhea and nausea, or you can get damage to the liver. So those are really early on the three places where you get graft-versus-host disease. Later on, you can get the immune system attacking almost any organ in the body. That's more remote after the transplant is done. But if you get a bad enough immune attack, that itself can kill you. Okay, so graft-versus-host disease is bad. Initially, we might see someone get a little bit of graft-versus-host disease, because graft-versus-host disease can be mild, moderate, or severe. If you get a mild form, maybe you get a rash, and it might go away by itself. And a lot of times we consider that a good thing because it tells us that the immune system of the donor is now recognizing something as being foreign. So we want that to happen. If you have an immune system going in, you want it to recognize the myeloma, you don't want to recognize the other parts of you, how do you separate that out? Can you separate it out? So people have tried to do this. This is the holy grail of allogeneic bone marrow transplantation. How do you kill the cancer but not kill the person, right? So the long and short of it is I don't think it can be done. I don't think you can do it. So part of it is to try to separate them out in time. So maybe what you do is you put the immune system in and you dampen it in the beginning to try to prevent graft-versus-host disease. And you know it may or may not have activity against the cancer. Later on, as you move down and you've established the immune system's gotten sort of used to things, right? So it's not going to be so reactive. So you don't have as high a risk of getting graft-versus-host disease. Then maybe you come in with something that will stimulate activity against the myeloma cells. So maybe what you should do is you should separate them out in time instead of just dumping them in and just letting whatever it wants to do happen, right? Try to sort of coordinate it. And so a lot of the research now that's going on in allogeneic bone marrow transplantation is to control GvH in the beginning and then give people things afterwards to try and stimulate an immune response against the tumor. So that, I think, is going to be the way to go. Like one extreme version of that might be you do a allogeneic transplant, and then 6 months later, you harvest the immune cells, which are going to be from the donor. You make those into CAR T cells, and you put them back into a person. Right? So you boost that immunity through CAR T cell therapy. So that is complex and probably expensive and perhaps more dangerous, but that may be a way of really making allogeneic transplantation work well, because the one benefit you get is that you get a healthy person's immune system, right? And that may be really good for CAR T cells. And so that's like a real extreme version of like doing something after the transplant, you know, after you've gotten over the hump of maybe getting a risk of graft-versus-host disease.